worldwide. Worked on
Just a moment. Just
yes.
a moment. Can we start from beginning?
Okay.
We just go. Yes, we
Should I
just go
start
there.
from the very beginning?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Greetings from San Francisco. My name is Sheridan Tatsuno. I'm in San Francisco. I'm a kind of a serial entrepreneur, urban planner, and a writer. So I actually wear three hats. I'm born and raised in Silicon Valley, in San Jose, when it was still an orchard, when Silicon Valley did not exist. My first memory is 1953. So I've
Okay,
seen the
great.
whole ride, Silicon Valley. And I'm trained in urban planning, did that for 5 years out of grad school. I was at Harvard Graduate School of Design and Public Policy. And then in 1983, when the oil prices collapsed, I went into tech because Apple Computer was growing. So I jumped onto the semiconductor industry, and I was responsible for Japan and Asia and the semiconductor startup. So I was the go-to guy for all the markets and advising all the venture capitalists around the world in semiconductor research and semiconductor startup. So I did that. And since then, I've been doing startups. So I'm doing my 10th startup right now.
Okay, great, great. At present we are in different situations, many economical challenges,
Right.
and many more problem. I know many university, they're calling me and my organizations, many governments, many school, college, they already stopped their educations. Many project management and this kind of company, they cannot operate right now. Actually, how actually VR can play a role in that situations, how your company can
On this line.
play. Yes, yes,
Well, right now I'm doing a startup company for financial tech, fintech. So what we're
yes.
doing is we're launching a platform maybe in July to help small businesses first in the US and then around the world, because we're related to the United Nations, to find resources, financing, mentoring, coaching, technical assistance, to help small businesses survive COVID and then thrive after the COVID is over.
Okay, okay, very good. So the what about the VR application, right? Like at the
Well, we're
moment.
not going to use virtual reality yet. That's more. That's the other startup I did over the last 5 years in Sweden. Right now,
Yes,
everybody's still stuck in the 2D world, the flat world, I call it. And so we're
yes,
going to
yes.
use like this 2D video and your flat GIS maps, and that's sufficient because most people aren't ready for virtuality yet, and there's no content yet, and the
Mhm.
use cases there aren't. They still haven't emerged. So
Mhm.
in Silicon Valley, as you know, all the big giants, Apple, Google, HP, IBM, are investing in visual computing. That's three-dimensional and four-dimensional computing. It's
Mhm.
basically like filmmaking, 3D worlds with action.
Mhm.
So that's,
Yes.
but it's still coming. It's not here yet on a massive scale.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay, I understand. But what is the future prospects? What do you think? Like example, I want to give you a case study. Let's say organizations, they do not have any kind of a strategy, but they are education organizations. They do not have a specific strategy how they manage this situation. So suddenly, last few months, they have to stop everything, and maybe next few months, next 2 3 months, also they cannot operate their business, but how they manage their students, how they like overcome from these situations, how actually technology work, how actually
Okay.
technology help this kind of organization.
Okay. Well, what you're talking about is the fourth industrial revolution that we've been talking about for the last 5 to 10 years, that we are increasingly going from an analog face-to-face world, which is very inefficient, to an online digital world. Not 100%, it'd be blended, both part face-to-face and part online. But the problem today, and I've been trying to encourage everybody, shopkeepers, universities, to go online, but they said, no, Sheridan, we prefer face-to-face. I said, no, but the revolution's coming. Well, unfortunately, we don't have 3 to 5 years to make the transformation now. COVID has done it in 1 month. So we could have been prepared 3 years ago and had already been online already, but we ignored everybody, and we just kept doing the same old business model. So this is a major transformation. It's like going from agriculture to factories or factories to the office. We are now going from the office, the corporate office, big universities, heavy brick and mortar. I call it the analog world of brick and mortar and atoms. We're going now to digital. Not 100%, but I would say that because of COVID, we cannot bring together people, otherwise we'll infect everybody.
Yes,
That
yes.
is the major reason why we need to go online now, and we need to do it quickly. Now, fortunately, the technology already exists.
One major question, because I'm finishing my PhD on human resource management. Always in Asian country, they said
Right.
if we heavily use technology, then
Right.
people will lose their job. There is no hope for people. We have a highly density populated country. What do you think? What you think the
Yeah.
percentage?
Well,
Is it
in
correct?
climate urban planning public policy, we call it sunset industries. So it's like, you remember before we had cars, we had buggies and whips, right? Well, these people are doing buggies and whips, and they don't want to change, and they didn't have to change. Well, now they don't have a choice. They have to change. And we're bringing in the cars, the digital cars, so to speak. They can either transform themselves, evolve from buggies and whips to cars, or they go under. Many of the people never made the change, and especially older people have a hard time, and they'd rather go bankrupt and live in poverty than to make a change. But fortunately, most young people are young and flexible. They can make the change. Now, the change is going to be very difficult. It's not going to be easy. It's going to require all the students to study harder, to learn technology, to understand how to use technology, to apply it in their everyday life, studies, their families, their friends. Because I'll be frank, most older people don't understand technology. I talk to my friends, and they're stuck in the last century. Whereas the young people today are very tech savvy. They're very familiar with using smartphones and everything. And before, the old people used to make fun of the kids being online all the time. Well, now that's the survival. That if you know how to work everything online, you can save not only yourself with creating new jobs, but also you can save your parents from going into bankruptcy. So that's a huge responsibility. So I think we're going to have an inverted pyramid now. In the past, all the leadership and the change went from the top down, from old people to young people. It's going to reverse. It has to. And the reason is very simply this: we don't have time to take 20 years to make the change. We have to do it in 2 months. I don't know very many old people who can make a change in 2 months because they've done it the same way for 50 years. I've given up on many of my older friends. They just don't get it. Whereas the young people are very quick, very open, very fast. They collaborate in teams. You work in universities, so you can collaborate both online and face to face, and you can make the change very quickly. And so that's actually, you are the solution to the problem we're facing today. The young people are going to help change the world. Now, it's not a surprise that, Silicon Valley, we had Steve Jobs and, Zuckerberg, and they're all 20-year-olds. The greatest companies and revolutions in Silicon Valley did not come from 70-year-olds.
Yeah, okay.
Never.
Yes.
And the reason is very simply this: they're entrenched into old industries, they're status quo, and they always say, no, 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 no. Whereas young people don't care. They said, no, we're going to change, and we're going to do it our way, and they don't rely on old people only. Okay? So my advice to all the people in Malaysia: you have history on your side. You have youth. You have the next 50 to 70 years to change the world, just like we've done in Silicon Valley. And we did not rely on old people. We relied on entrepreneurs, innovators, students. Like I was at Stanford when internet took off in '93. The average age was 18 to 20. And I was at Stanford at the U.S. Japan Center at the engineering department. And in 1993, I knew internet was coming, and I said, oh my God, the world's going to change. Stanford Business School had nothing. The only thing engineering school had was RSA security. And I said, that's like saying you have locks on the door. What's inside? You go, well, that's your problem. So several of us young people sat around saying, what does the world look like when the internet goes online in 9 months? And I said, oh, I know. And you know what? I said, it's going to be shopping. And they all looked at me and said, Sheridan, you're crazy.
Mhm.
Nobody will ever shop online. I said, you're wrong. And he said,
Mhm.
why? There's 4 technical reasons why it's impossible to shop online. Okay, what are they? He goes, there's no way to pay online. I said, oh, we'll figure out sometime e-payment. Who? I don't know, but that's what all we do is think about innovation in Silicon Valley. So
Mhm.
somebody do it. Even if you have e-payment, there's nothing to buy. I said, trust me, there'll be everything
Mhm.
you want online. Like what? I said, everything. And he said, you'll never build houses or ships online or whatever because it's impossible. I said, this is data.
Mhm.
And then even if you have anything, there's no way to buy it. I said, don't worry, there'll be a shop that opens up to sell everything you want. And they
Mhm.
said, ooh, I said, it doesn't exist. And 6 months later, a little company called Amazon showed up.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I said,
Okay.
that's the
Yes.
company. And that there's a book written about it later called The Everything Store. But the problem, and I tried to convince all my retailer friends and everybody that the future was Amazon, and they just looked at me saying, this is a small shop. They can't change the world.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's
Yes.
what I'm talking about is revolutionary innovation. And it usually comes from tech, and it's usually from young people who totally create something new.
Yes. Brilliant. Yes. Yes.
It's,
Yes. This is actually very interesting. And when I see your profile, you have a long experience to doing work in around the world.
Mhm.
But from Asian perspective, we want to know, like, when you work for the Stanford and developing the industrial relationships and this kind of things, what's the experience? Like, what
Okay.
you want to share with the youth about the Stanford and the Silicon Valleys?
Let me give you a better example. It's closer to home. Besides advising European governments and Asian governments, Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Japan, Korea, China. Okay, I was advising a little city called Bangalore.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, and
Yes.
actually, it was the Consul General of India in San Francisco who came to us, and there weren't very many Indian programmers back in 1984 in Silicon Valley, just like a couple of hundred. And I was a member of this group. And the Consul General said, there's Texas Instrument opened up a software outsourcing center for chip design in Bangalore. Why would they do that? And I said, well, it's simple. It's cheaper than Europe, and you can do 24/7 round the clock development. Americans work their day, and Indians work at night. So
Mhm.
here was the Consul General. This is a government person, 60-year-old man. And he says, we have a problem, brain drain from India. Very smart people, but there's no jobs. So they all leave the country and never come home, which
Mhm.
is a tragedy for them and their families because they don't learn Indian culture. So here's the question. Do you think instead of shipping millions of Indians out of India every year, we bring software into Bangalore?
Mhm.
And I say, yeah, of course you can, but don't use satellites. Too expensive. Put in fiber optics. And he said, why would we do that? I said, trust me, you're going to need a lot of dark fiber to build a whole industry in Bangalore. And he said,
Okay.
are you
Brilliant.
sure? I said, yeah. So what we did is, I was working with DataQuest and market research. We had 3,000 technical giants, everybody, US,
Mhm.
Asia, Japan. So the SEPA fellow, the young programmers, they're all 20-year-olds, and then I was really young. We just introduced Microsoft, Intel, all the big tech giants to Bangalore. And we said, guys, why don't you open up a design center there? So that was 1983, 4, right? Okay. And we said, I met the Bangalore project manager, and I said, sir, what is your vision?
Mhm.
And he said, I hate to be so bold, but my vision is to create a Silicon Valley of software in Bangalore. Do you
Mhm.
think that's possible? I said, anything's possible. How badly do you want it? He goes, really, really, really badly. I said, okay. So what are your problems? He goes, well, we have serious problems anyway. Poverty, nepotism, corruption, bureaucracy, like xenophobia, no infrastructure, no money, nothing. I said, oh, but we just have smart people.
Mhm.
I said, oh, okay. So what do you think? I said, that's not your problem.
Mhm.
And he goes, well, what is our problem? I said, you have democracy. And he
Mhm.
goes, what? How is that a
Yes.
problem? I said, it's very simple. You Indians are so free in your democracy. You're always arguing and fighting over everything. And you never
Mhm.
agree on anything, so you never get anything done. That's why China goes fast, because they're focused. So my advice, don't fight, get together, organize, focus on one goal, and then we could work with you in Silicon Valley, because in Silicon Valley we know how to focus. And he said, are you sure? And I said, of course. Just get everybody, students, everybody, and focus on. So he said, okay. So they did that, and then we introduced him to the companies. And then he asked me, how long will it take for Bangalore to succeed? And I said, well, it took us 50 years. Maybe if you work hard, it will take you 20 years. It took them 10. Internet came and this thing took off. So basically, our group created the Indian software outsourcing industry in Bangalore, 1984. Okay, we had no money. We were all bunch of volunteering, all students and young people. We had no old people there, just the Council General to open doors. So the point I'm making is that Bangalore did it 30 years ago. Now today, we're using fax machines. Today, using cloud platforms, how long would it take Bangalore to do it today if it were to start from today?
Yes.
1 year. 1 year.
Okay.
Malaysia could do it, or any Asian country could do it in 1 year today, because it's real time. It's not a technical problem. It's not an economic problem. It's not a funding problem. It's a mindset problem.
Okay, brilliant.
People don't believe you can do it, therefore you won't do it. And whereas Bangalore said, we will do it, and we want to succeed. And they did it. They organized. But, technology was slow back then. Everything took forever, fax machines. So today, you could do everything real time and totally transform your whole country in 1 year. And you have to get some government people to work with you, and all we worked with the carriers, the big carriers, to do fiber optics. So one of the big challenges will be getting all your villages, everybody online in 6 months, literally everybody. Fiber optics. And that's what Bangalore did. So it's not it has nothing to do with money, technology, because we have the technology now. It's just a mindset and the will. How badly do you want to reinvent yourself and develop yourself? So I learned that 30 years ago from India.
Okay, brilliant. But at present, the world is in different format. We have COVID-19, a lot of health-related issues, a lot of challenges. Many organizations actually struggling. They do not have any preparation. Even many government, they do not have even preparation. What they do. So in that situations, what will be the solutions, what we can do with technology, what we can making a breathing in between Silicon Valleys and Asia and around the world, how we can solve these issues.
Well, the fastest way is what you're doing now is education and training. All right. Education is very fast, especially among young people. Again, you're reversing the model. If you do it the old-fashioned way with professors lecturing and putting everybody asleep, it'll never happen. It has to be peer-to-peer collaboration, real-time training online. And you're training not only each other, but everybody, your parents, your grandparents, government officials, everybody. So it's a collective learning process. You have to use the platforms to learn in real time. Because right now, if I've worked at Stanford, I've worked at universities, it would take 3 to 5 years to make a change in current educational models. You don't have 5 years. You have like 5 months. So the question then is not, can you do it? Yes, you can. It's how fast can you move? That's what it comes down to.
Yes.
Right? So then you have to have very clear goals, and you have to have ambitious goals like we do, like moonshots. Our goal is to educate everybody in our country in the next 6 months online. And that should be the mission. Now, you may not get 99% of the people, but at least if you can get 70 or 80%, you're on your way. But you need to have, as they say, big, hairy, audacious goals, moonshots. And you can't say like India, oh, we're poor, we can't do it and all that. That's an excuse. Because one thing I've learned in Silicon Valley from all the work with Asian nations, history is not destiny. When I worked in Taiwan, they were poor. Korea had no tech industry. Bangalore had nothing. I trained the Chinese leaders in '87. They had nothing. And if you said, well, we're Chinese, we could never develop tech like Silicon Valley, you would have mentally handicapped yourself. So the point is, history is not destiny. So you have to write your own destiny. You have to create your own future. You have to work together as a team. You have to be very open and collaborate with the world. You can't do it by yourself. It's impossible. Even Silicon Valley, we're not all Americans. Most of the people are non-Americans. So probably 70% are born in other countries. And we work with other countries because most of the brilliance today is not in Silicon Valley. It's all over the world. We know that. So you have to be very open and be willing to work with the world. And I think if you do that, things are much faster. And in all the companies, everybody's looking for opportunities. So if you create, for example, the Asian market's really big, it's growing fast, right? All the big companies, Silicon Valley, all have a presence in Asia. They're very interested in what you do. But it must be driven, and I'll give you one secret. There's what they call tech push. We're taking AI or robots, trying to push it, right? The failure rate's 95%.
Okay, yeah.
Because you got tech in search of a problem or a solution, then there's no problem where customers don't. Whereas if you have demand pull, we have problems, and you drive and you develop technology to solve the problem. The success rate by 80 to 90%. It's like 8 times. Now, here's the question, and I could never figure this out in Silicon Valley. Why is it if you have 80, 90% success rate with demand pull, but you always do 90% tech push, why do you do that? And it's called mindset. If you're an engineer or an attorney with IP and technology, you see the problem. You're biased already. You're trying to push your technology. When the best thing you can do is not even push anything, just say, go to the customer and use them, say, what are your problems? What do you need? Which I did at DataQuest. What are problems? What do you need? And we'll figure it out. So more solutions. Right?
Yes, you come up with a brilliant idea, mindset. Like last 10 years, I engaged with education's organization, universities, and schools. But this is real problem of mindset. Like example, country like Asia, there are many students come for poor background, and they have a lot of challenges in their life for education, especially what you are talking about, educations and this kind of things. Even at present situation, it's a horrible. Even you see different people, if you come up with the real data, students like young people, they are very frustrated. So in that situation, as a mentor, as a youth experience guy, how you advise this youth that they can set their mindset in challenging environment and they can change their countries?
Yeah, you don't challenge them as a person. You provide them with an external challenge that they can all solve. Okay. Let me give you an example. Google Earth. I met them like 5 years ago, and they worked with India for Google Earth. And I said, what did you do? It goes, well, the Indian villagers always complained that after elections, there was all this pile of garbage, that the politicians would only clean up the villages before the election. And as soon as election's over, they would just leave the garbage. And then they would complain, and the politicians would lie and say, no, we did it. So they had no proof. So Google gave them Android phones, and they gave it to the children. And they say to the children, okay, run around your village after election to take pictures of all the garbage piles around your village, right? So it's time-stamped and geolocated, right? You know how long it took them to train the children?
Yes.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
And he said, we had the best crowdsourced database of garbage piles in the village. Time-stamped, geolocated, so that politicians couldn't deny it or lie. Now, it took them 10 minutes. And the reason is that they weren't trying to explain how you design an Android phone. That's like, they're saying the problem is very pragmatic, a challenge, saying, okay, here's the problem, garbage in your village. How do you use smartphones to document it, timestamp, and geolocate it so we can use it as evidence when we go to the city? And that's what they did. They did that in the Amazon jungle to save the rainforest. They said the villagers had never seen a smartphone. They figured it out in 20 minutes. And you know what? They showed a picture of the jungle where it was being chopped down by and so they said, okay, take pictures of the illegal miners. And so they did, and all the children, and they showed the natives like running around with these little cameras. And then as soon as they took it, the feds came in and arrested the illegal miners, and it showed before with all the jungle, and then it showed it after a couple of years, and the tribal village still had a forest, and everything else was stripped clean around it. So they said it took the Amazon tribal villages, they've never seen a smartphone, 20 minutes to figure it out. So it's not, can they use technology? That's not the question. It's what is the use of it? Why use it? Okay? And then you have to structure that as a challenge. Now, the good thing about young people, or people in general, they like games. So you have competitions. So, for example, in the jungle, you could have all the villagers all competing, different tribes, trying to see who can get the best and arrest the most illegal loggers, or like the villagers who can stop and get the most garbage eliminated. Right? So very pragmatic, and that's the best use of technology. And trust me, the young people learn really fast. The Google Earth people said the children, when you gave them this phone, they'd never seen it. 5-year-olds, they figured it out in 5 minutes. And then you share it with everybody. And it took maybe adults maybe an hour sometimes. So I said, what did you learn? He goes, maybe you should have the children teach the adults because it's faster.
Yes.
So, I think there's no excuse for no matter what stage in development you are, whether they've seen technology before, that's not an excuse anymore. This technology is so easy to use that anybody could pick it up in 5 or 10 minutes. And then now smartphones are really powerful, like computers.
As you have a huge experience in technology industry, we want to know about the biotech industry. What is the futures like? How many companies, many corporation, government, they want to involve with these things? Like what will be the futures, and what will be the better solution this world can see from biotech industry?
Well, at first, I think, again, I focus on the needs, the demand side, not the tech. So probably if I were any person in the room saying, what are the immediate medical healthcare needs we have in our towns and villages and our nation? And focus on a specific problem, whether it's TB or whether it's mosquitoes or whatever, but focus on a specific problem and try to find a very cheap solution using off-the-shelf technology first. And then you'll usually find out that you have to cobble together solutions. So then you don't have the solutions. You say, okay, we have to get this sensor, we have to put it on the phone, we have to add some software to it, we need to do that, we need to test it with the database. You have to start building something to solve the problem. And that's usually how innovation works best. You're trying to solve a very discrete problem in a very focused way.
Okay.
And so, and that's what I would do. I wouldn't get too hung up in technologies, and that's why you have open innovation. You're better off saying, what is the problem we're trying to solve? Let's try to measure it and talk to people. And then let's pull people in our team, biologists, doctors, nurses, and then tech developers, business people, marketing people, anthropologists, sociologists. So you're looking at the problem from all angles, because remember, it's a team building. And the best teams are multidisciplinary, they're multi-generational. You have like 80-year-old people, young people, 5-year-olds, and we're all helping the team. And if you do that, innovation happens much faster because you're tapping the brains and the knowledge of everybody from all the different sectors, plus villagers and everybody. So you get we call it 360 awareness, 360 knowledge, open innovation, real time. And you do that, it moves really fast. It literally moves in minutes, not hours, minutes, because children, sometimes they'll post, and it's all over the internet, literally in minutes. And you go, how did everybody know around the world? He goes, well, because Joe knows Bill in France and Germany, and everybody knows overnight. So everything's real time nowadays. And that's good because COVID's moving in real time.
Oh, okay, okay. So you want to see it positively, as it is a, there are a lot of problems. So you find there is also solutions from the local community. Okay,
Yeah.
I have a specific thing for you. Like
Mhm.
I want to give you some of the things. Like example, okay, government has awareness that okay, we want to do something on technology. We want to build up our nations.
Right.
Okay, corporate also have the positive like impression. They want to invest their money on the youth.
Mhm.
Youth
Right.
also have interest, but how do we do with better entrepreneurs? How we find, how I figure out who is the best entrepreneurs to build up these things? How
Oh,
actually
yeah.
Silicon
Yeah.
Valley play the role?
Okay, what we do is we have open competitions. Okay.
Okay, okay.
So we have a challenge. It could be medical, could be food delivery. You have different challenges like a hackathon, but it's not a one-day event. It's an
Mhm,
ongoing incubator,
mhm,
and you have people who have problems come to pose the problem, whether it's healthcare or food delivery or education or whatever. Okay, and then they say, "Here's my problem. I would like to have a team solve it for me." And then
mhm,
you introduce everybody and you pair off and they pick the area that they want to work with and people they want to work with. So you could have, even for education, multiple teams competing against each other. Actually, competition's better than one group because everybody's trying to outdo each other and it's more fun. So one
mhm,
of the ways we gamify everything is that we set up competition, sort of like the Olympic Games. So you're trying to be the number one, and you have
mhm,
local competition, regional,
mhm,
national, international, right? So you
mhm,
set it up where you have teams, and then the key is that it's open. Though you could have a 75-year-old man or woman with a
mhm,
12-year-old on the same team. You don't exclude anybody, all
mhm,
right,
mhm,
based
mhm,
on interest and drive, and then you have them try to solve it, and then you can have panels, which we do all the time, judges and panels or experts like epidemiologists or tech people judging the different aspect of the solution. Is it useful? Is it effective? Is it, and you can do that. And then to sweeten the deal, we have prizes, free
mhm,
computers, whatever. And
mhm,
then the really good one is free tuition college,
mhm,
um, scholarships,
mhm,
and jobs.
mhm,
And
mhm,
trust me, in Silicon Valley, when we have competitions and we have a job fair, we get 30,000 young people and older people there, boom,
mhm,
overnight.
mhm,
But that's just for job hunting. The better way to do it is to have open competition, so everybody has to develop something.
mhm,
They don't have to be a tech person; they have to work with a tech person. So the business model is Apple Computer. So
mhm,
Apple Computer, if you think about it, was Steve Wozniak was the techie, right? But he couldn't sell it all.
mhm,
He couldn't
mhm,
design it all. He could just, design printed board. Steve Jobs was not a techie. He was a kind of user interface visionary, and he was good at user design. So you had a tech person, engineer, working with a non-tech person,
mhm,
and they collaborate. And that's the most successful model.
mhm,
Even
mhm. Just I want to give you another example. Like as I engage with the youth in Asia and many schools and other things, we find that we have a different syllabus and other things.
Mhm.
How we make it our educational policy and educational syllabus and strategy more industry driven. Like people get
All right.
more job, they can engage with more entrepreneurships and more
Okay.
things.
Okay. It's simple. Actually, I did that 10 years ago at a Swedish business school. They
Mhm,
hired me because I worked at Stanford's engineering department. They wanted to know the secret of Silicon Valley. So we had your typical academics, and the dean said, "You and I, because we have more business experience, 50 years, than 140 professors who just
mhm,
did papers and lectures, but never worked in business. This is in business school now."
mhm,
And so what we did in one class, the professor of creative marketing says, "No lectures,
mhm. Okay.
no classes." And they go, "What?" And she says, "We're going to do blended learning." Now, what we did is this, and anybody can do it. We says, we're going to meet together. We had 125 students and said, what we're going to do is you have to find a client or assignment, a nonprofit, a farmer, a city, an airport, whatever, and you have to develop the marketing plan for them.
Mhm.
All right. So then we broke up teams of 5. I had 3 teams of 5, and then we met once. Okay, and then the professor said no lectures, and here's assigned reading, but you don't have to read it. Just use the relevant theories in your paper to show how it's rigorously done intellectually, right, based on marketing theory. So you don't reinvent the wheel. So we did that, and then my teams met face to face, this groups of 5, and then they ran around. They went to talk to them, gather information, right? And then we did a midterm presentation, the class together, and then we did one final. I was 200 miles away, and I was coaching my team from 200 miles away using Skype for an hour, and it was no problem at all. I did that 10 years ago, and in the final presentation, the students were brilliant because they weren't bored. Lectures are boring. I'll be frank, I'm bored of lectures too. Instead of just memorizing boring texts and taking a test, which doesn't really show you anything, they actually had to present the final marketing plan, and all of us got to critique it. So they were all really over-prepared. The marketing plans were so brilliant that my 3 teams got invited by the clients, the airport, a city, and a company to present to their board of directors, because they said, wow, we didn't know we had all this data, because they never do data analytics, right? And so our team had totally analyzed all their data, everything, and then done and really amazing presentations. And we taught them things about their own businesses they didn't even know. And so that's a good example where it's hands-on, active learning, applied learning to a specific problem in the world. It's not just theoretical knowledge. So I think you could do that very easily, because you have infinite number of probably problems and issues around anywhere in the country, right? And you just pick people who have a problem, and then you have your teachers organize classes to address that problem from different angles. So you can encourage multidisciplinary. So you have a sociologist, a tech developer, software developer, and then you can have media production on the same team, because the solution typically has to be holistic. Not just, for example, you have the tech for the back end, but then for the media, you need, how do you explain it to the citizens or, old people or whatever, You need to have a whole solid plan from all different angles. So it's very pragmatic, and it's very rigorous, and it's harder than taking a test. Trust me, much harder.
Okay. Brilliant. I just want to go for a little bit of advanced level. Especially in Asia, we see many small organizations, like many entrepreneurs. They do not have traditional knowledge. Even they do not have even the tech related knowledge and anything, but they start their initiative, they start their business, and in a one point, like example, as a small medium entrepreneur, they established, and suddenly, like example, this COVID-19 comes, or any kind of disaster comes, and they fall, and they cannot survive in their positions. But like example, 8, 9, 10 years or 15 years of their work almost going down. So do you have any plan for this kind of entrepreneurs, small medium enterprise, or this kind of people? They are not too much of educated, they are not highly engaged with technology and these things, but what they do based on their practical experience.
Well, I mean, that actually, there was a case online, and it's good to study success stories, because there are a lot of them popping up now online. And there's this one success story with a beauty salon. I don't know where it was. I forgot. I was looking at it, and they laid off all 50 people because they can't show up at the salon anymore, right? So they said initially, like, oh, we give up, we're going to fail, we're going to go bankrupt. And that's the easy way out. I call that the coward's way out. So what they did is one person said, hey, couldn't you do that online? I go, what are you talking about? We're not online. We're not techies. No, do it online. So what they did is they set up consulting.
Mhm.
So then the hair beauty salon person worked with the people in the nails too, with each of the customers, and they did it online, like what we're doing now.
Mhm.
And then, so they provide specialized care and training how to do their hair and all that, what they could do, right? And if they had to, then they would come in once in a while with, the shield protected, right? So they
Mhm.
rehired all 50 employees instead of firing them.
Mhm.
And then,
Mhm.
and then they discovered, oh, by the way, and it's called flattening the curve. I don't know if you've ever heard, not with COVID, in terms of business. Okay, so um, what they discovered is they could sell products online, not just services, right? So they could sell more like Amazon.
Mhm.
And then it's called flattening the curve. Instead of having 90% of all your revenues within 10 miles, say, of the shop, if you go online like Amazon, you could sell globally, right?
Mhm.
So you're flattening the curve. So maybe your business locally is down 90%, but it
Mhm.
goes 100 times. So
Mhm.
theoretically, the smart people, and this, it requires really smart people, though. You can't be kind of old fashioned. You could grow your business 10 to 100 times by going online.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the reason is very simple. A local market is too small, which is why most small businesses are small. But if you go online, it's international, right? The market is massive.
Mhm.
So, but then the challenge is, how do you take somebody's, hair salon person who's never worked tech to do market? Well, that's when the students come in. So you have all these students who say, I have good market experience, and you have a tech person, and then you work with them to put them online and to do the marketing. And next thing you know, you got this thriving company. You saved the 50 employees, but because your sales are coming in so fast, you have 200 employees because you're selling
Mhm.
internationally. And that's called digital transformation.
Mhm.
And any
Mhm.
company can do it. Again, but it's a mindset problem. You have to say, we're no longer a
Yes.
buggy whip company. We're like a car now. So we're designing
Mhm.
a car, not a buggy,
Mhm.
right? We still move goods, but we're
Mhm.
using a faster, more powerful vehicle, which is called online now, to move goods instead of using buggies.
Mhm.
And so that's the transformation. Now, it's not all online. You'll probably
Mhm.
still have some local face-to-face, but
Mhm.
COVID, because you have infection problems, it's going to suppress it. So you have a choice. You either go out of business, which is a lot of people prefer because they're retiring, or you do 1/10 the business locally because people can't,
Mhm.
or you go online and you grow your business.
Mhm.
So that's the choice.
Mhm. So you believe that internet actually ultimately solution for this kind of problem, and they have to take the initiative, especially in this situation. Let's say Malaysia, they are trying to involve with more e-commerce. So
Mhm.
what do you think the e-commerce industry? What do you think about that is
No,
issues? And
well, if Malaysia does it properly, you'll create your own Googles and Apples and Facebooks, okay, in the future that don't exist right now.
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
reason is that if you think about it, online means global markets. Okay, think about it
Mhm.
that way.
Mhm.
It's not technology; it's about people and markets. So automatically, as soon as you go online, you can reach people around the world. Not everybody, but many people.
Mhm.
And you can't do that because Malaysia, as big as the country is, it's not big enough. It's,
Mhm.
in the world, you have maybe 2 billion with PCs and 7 billion with phones, right? How many in
Mhm.
Malaysia? You don't have, a couple 100 million, but that's peanuts compared to the global market.
Mhm.
So the online is a key to the global market.
Mhm.
So you have to think more like IBM or Apple, less like
Mhm.
a mom and pop that just focuses on your backyard.
Mhm.
Because if you stay small and focused, you could survive, but you're going to be tiny and it's very difficult. But if you go online, and especially if you bring in the young people who are savvy, they're tech people, they're marketing people, they've worked for large companies, they know how to do it already. You bring those people on with the older people who are like providing the service, then you can build it gradually. But it requires a new team, a blended team, the old
Mhm.
team and the new team. and you have to blend it. That's hard because it's a mindset problem,
Mhm.
it's not an age problem at all.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like, you want to hear a funny story? The first VR for marketing I ever met was a 75-year-old hippie from Berkeley.
Okay. Okay.
This is like 5 or 6 years ago, and I said, he goes, "Oh, we do VR." And I go, "Yeah, right." And he's all dressed up with like hippie clothes and all that, with a beard, like 75. I said, "What do you do?" He goes, "Well, we market our co-living space." I go, "What?" He goes, "We have a lot of former hippies. They're all like 60 to 70, and we're trying to get new residents, so we're marketing using VR." And I go,
Mhm.
"Show me." So he had the Google cardboard with his phone. And what they did is they scanned in
Mhm.
their co-living, and they had all the people going, "Hey, how you doing? Welcome to Berkeley." And then so you put it on, and you can look around at his co-working space.
Mhm. Mhm.
And he was the first person using technology for
Mhm.
marketing. And he was a 75-year-old hippie.
Mhm.
I would have expected it from a 20-year-old from Cal, University of California, but it was an
Mhm.
old guy. So age is not an issue. It's a mindset problem.
Brilliant. One of the different industry I just want to focus because you are talking about education and these things.
Right.
According to the newspapers and the statistics, many of the people, even from Malaysia, different countries, they're assuming that private college, 50% of the private college, they may die after
Right.
these things because they cannot get international students, and this is the problem. Even when I discuss with the local students from South Asia, they said, okay, we do not want to do online educations and these things. So how actually we are playing an important role for this kind of college, they can survive or they can
Okay.
take or adapt with these things.
Okay, they have to make two mental shifts. It's a paradigm shift, okay? It's called the Industrial Revolution, right?
Mhm.
First of all, you have to go from atoms or moving bodies around,
Mhm.
okay? Like in other words, like the airlines, fill the seats, right? The current mentality is bring bodies, doesn't matter how many, just bring bodies, whether it's an
Mhm.
airline, a theater, or like a school. We have more bodies, the better. But it's all atoms based, physical people moving around, right?
Mhm.
Second is it's based on our place here.
Mhm.
That's the old business model. That's the
Mhm.
So you have to think, no, your market is not local, it's global. So you have to think bits online. Okay.
Mhm.
And then instead of bringing students to the college, you have to take the college to the world
Mhm. Mhm.
online. So
Mhm.
they don't have to come to Malaysia, but they still
Okay.
pay.
Yes.
Now, the question then is, it's sort of like MIT, they have the Khan Academy, they're free. So here's the challenge for the universities. How do you develop an online university where you can
Mhm.
charge people, and it doesn't have to be a lot? The business
Mhm.
model is different.
Mhm.
So, for example, like Stanford will charge $60,000. How many people can afford that around? Nobody,
Yes.
practically,
No
right?
one. Yes.
Right.
Yes. True.
But so the business model is very simple. It's like $60,000 for a couple of hundred people, right?
Mhm.
Bring the bodies to Stanford. That's
Mhm.
the old model, the 19th century model. The new model is just online, and we're teaching 1 billion people.
Mhm.
Let's see if we charged $100 a piece. How much money is that?
Mhm. Mhm.
A billion people.
Yes.
Okay, your revenues are $100 billion.
True.
That's bigger
True.
than Google and Apple, right?
Mhm. Yes.
So the challenge then is there's a billion people online. There's 7 billion actually. So it's only
Mhm.
one out of 7. Okay, then the question is, what are you going to teach them? And then how do you make it worthwhile for that people will pay internationally $100?
Mhm. Mhm.
What are you teaching?
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. That's the challenge they have to do. And then, so you're getting a little bit of money. You don't even have to charge $100. Take the Apple model, $1.
Mhm.
One lecture or whatever class for $1.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you get 100 million students.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's $100 million. That's more than most universities make in a whole year. Just one
Mhm.
class.
Mhm.
So you have to totally rethink the way you do education. So it's going to go. It looks more like Amazon model with very low prices for huge numbers of people around the world, not a lot of money for rich people in your country.
Mhm.
It's called democratization of education.
Mhm.
Globalization and in globalization in a positive way, which is not globalization where foreigners come in and eliminate your jobs, rather that you become the Googles and the Amazons. So a
Mhm.
Malaysian private college who's a visionary suddenly is generating $100 million a year and training everybody in the world, and they're the world leader.
True, true, very true. Okay.
Yeah, and you have it really extremely intelligent people across the board, technology, education, everything. You have everything. It's just a matter of packaging it differently. So,
Okay.
and the government and universities can, like we do at Stanford, um, can work very closely together to kind of promote new ways of doing things.
Mhm.
And that's, the best way. Now, usually we start as clubs. So, the Silicon Valley started with the homebrew club with,
Mhm.
PCs, and then the Apple computer came and everybody came, and that became the foundation for the personal computer industry. So we started with informal clubs,
Mhm.
and it could be after school or at home, whenever. But it doesn't require money, that's for sure. It's just getting people together and
Mhm.
collaborating.
Okay, it's actually very, very good economic discussions. I think that many of the like we will promote your guidelines and your advice in between our groups and many organizations. Hopefully, it will be really, really helpful. And we have a plan that long time we want to collaborate with you, and we want to make as you are very experienced, a very good ecosystem. And hopefully, we will learn. Our young people will learn, our corporate, our government will learn many more things, and we can work together. So thank you for actually today's time and
Yeah, you're
discussions.
welcome.
And I want your final remarks for the people like us, like people from the from different perspective, but how we can make a better community and how we can do work with the technology.
I mean, I go back to Gandhi, okay? Be the change that you seek. Be the change that you seek. The world has got serious problems right now, and it's dysfunctional, and it can be improved dramatically. But it's going to require, especially young people who've got a long career and are highly educated and drive and, friends. But be the change you seek and work together as teams, not just your own age group, but everybody, and globally. And if you do that, you could be like Bangalore and totally shock the world and surprise the world with your innovation. Because I know that Malaysia has got huge intellectual, mental, social wealth, cultural wealth, and I would like to see more of that, frankly.
Yes, definitely. We're going to invite you. One of the audience already asking a specific question to you, Mr. Tatsuno. Is it possible to sustain, to convert online university with using VR? This is the last question from audience.
Oh, yeah, we do that now. In fact, my company has they call it Twin Site with a big construction company called Rami Rent in Sweden, and we do training on a construction site using virtual reality. We have models already, and then we show how to use the model for your own construction site for planning it and designing it. And then also we train people online for construction equipment with different equipment that the vendors sell. So, for
Mhm.
example, we already do that in Sweden.
Mhm.
And so you could do it for anything. Actually, you could do any kind of training in virtual reality. It could be music, could be we did the Nobel Prize for Medicine on human cells. So you could do medicine, do construction, you could do geology, disaster planning, anything. Because VR, you can create anything you want on the gaming engines. So they use Unity or Unreal. And so you want to get the VR gamers because they're really good at designing worlds, and then develop a really interesting use case, whether it's construction, biological studies, or whatever.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, it's a very good discussions, and we want to work with you, and hopefully from many more corporations we'll get your guidelines. Still they do not know about you, about your brilliant mind. That is my actually idea, that how I can get in touch with many of the entrepreneurs, those who need your helps, and the government, and hopefully this World Talent Economy Forums, with the help of you and your guidelines, we can make it more sustainable, and we will make this world more efficient and more effective. Thank you for coming,
Okay.
and thank you for your brilliant idea. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your time. All right. Good luck, everybody, and power
Okay.
to you to recreate the
Yes.
world.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.